Good afternoon. I'm Emma Palzere-Rae, and I'm happy to have a Tales of the Victorians for you today by Harriet Beecher Stowe. I was lucky enough to portray Harriet Beecher Stowe at East Lynne Theater, a little while back, with Gail Stallluth playing uh, Harriet's sister Catherine Beecher in an accompanying one-woman act side by side. So today I am going to be reading for you a humorous tale written by Harriet entitled The Canal Boat. It was published in Godey's Lady Book in October 1841, over a decade prior to her writing Uncle Tom's Cabin. And you can tell by this story that she was already becoming proficient with describing the activities and scenery in her tales, as well as experimenting with the voices of characters in their own vernaculars. The Canal Boat. Of all the ways of traveling which obtain among our locomotive nation, this said vehicle, the canal boat, is the most absolutely prosaic and inglorious. Did you ever try it, reader? If not, take an imaginary trip with us, just for experiment. "There's the boat!" exclaims a passenger in the omnibus as we are rolling down the mansion house in Pittsburgh to the canal. "Where?" exclaim a dozen voices, and forthwith a dozen heads go out the window. "Why, down there under the bridge. Don't you see those lights?" "What? That little thing?" exclaims an inexperienced traveler. "Oh, dear me, we can't half of us get into it." "We indeed," says an old hand in the business. "Oh, I think you will find that it'll hold us and a dozen more loads like us." "Impossible," say some. "You'll see," say the initiated. "And soon as you get out, you do see." And here, too, what seems like a general breaking loose from the Tower of Babel, amid a perfect hailstorm of trunks, boxes, valises, carpet bags, and every describable and indescribable form of what a Westerner calls plunder. "Oh, that's my trunk!" barks out a big round man. "Oh, that's my bandbox!" screams a heart-stricken old lady in terror for her immaculate Sunday caps. "Oh, where's my little red box? I had two carpet bags and oh, my trunk had a scarl. Oh, hello? Well, where are you going with that portmanteau? Husband, do see after the large basket and the little hair trunk. Oh, and the baby's little chair. Go below, for mercy's sake, my dear. I'll see to the baggage." At last, the feminine part of creation, perceiving that, in this particular instance, they gain nothing by public speaking, are content to be led quietly under hatches. And amusing is the look of dismay which each newcomer gives to the confined quarters that present themselves. Those who were so ignorant of the power of compression as to suppose the boat scarce large enough to contain them and theirs, find, with dismay, a respectable colony of old ladies, babies, mothers, big baskets, and carpet bags already established. "Oh, mercy on us," says one after surveying the little room, about 10 feet long and 6 high. "Where are we all to sleep tonight?" "Oh, me, what a sight of children," says a young lady in a despairing tone. "Pooh," says an initiated traveler. "Children? Scarce any here. Let's see. One, the woman in the corner. Two, that child with the bread and butter. Three, and then there's that other woman with two. Really, it's quite moderate for a canal boat. However, we can't yet tell because they have not all yet come." After this follows an indiscriminate raining down of all shapes, sizes, sexes, and ages, men, women, children, babies, and nurses. The state of feeling becomes perfectly desperate. Darkness gathers on all faces. We shall be smothered. We shall be crowded to death. We can't stay here, are heard faintly from one and another. And yet, though the boat grows no wider, the walls no higher, they do live and do stay there, in spite of repeated protestations to the contrary. Meanwhile, the children grow sleepy, and diverse interesting little duets and trios arise from one part or another of the cabin. This domestic concert proceeds with vigor. "Oh, Mama, I'm tired," bawls a child. "Oh, where's the baby's nightgown?" calls a nurse. "Do take Peter upon your lap and keep him still." "Oh, pray get out some biscuits to stop their mouths." Meanwhile, sundry babies strike in conspiritu, as the music books have it, and execute various flourishes. The disconsolate mothers sigh and look as if it was all over with them, and the young ladies appear extremely disgusted and wonder, what business have they to travel around with babies? To these troubles succeeds the turning out scene, when the whole caravan is ejected into the gentleman's cabin, that the beds may be made. The red curtains are put down, and in solemn silence all the mysterious preparations begin. At length it is announced that all is ready. Forthwith the whole company rush back and find the walls embellished by a series of little shelves, about a foot wide, each furnished with mattresses and bedding, and hooked to the ceiling by a very suspiciously slender cord. Direful are the ruminations and explanations of inexperienced travelers, particularly young ones, as they eye these very equivocal accommodations. "What? Sleep up there? I won't sleep on one of those top shelves. I know the cords will certainly break." The chambermaid here takes up the conversation and solemnly assures them that such an accident is not to be thought of at all, that it is a natural impossibility, a thing that could not happen without an actual miracle. And since it becomes increasingly evident that 30 ladies cannot all sleep on the lowest shelf, there is some effort made to exercise faith in this doctrine. Nevertheless, all look upon their neighbors with fear and trembling, and when the stout lady talks of taking a shelf, she is most urgently pressed on to change places with her alarmed neighbor below. Points of location being after a while adjusted, comes the last struggle. Everybody wants to take off a bonnet, or look for a shawl, or find a cloak, or get a carpet bag, and all set about with such zeal that nothing can be done. "Ma'am, you're on my foot," says one. "Will you please move, ma'am?" says somebody who is gasping and struggling behind you. "Move," you echo. "Indeed, I shall be very glad to, but I don't see much prospect of it." "Chambermaid," calls a lady who is struggling among a heap of carpet bags and children at one end of the cabin. "Ma'am," echoes the poor chambermaid, who is wedged fast in a similar situation at the other end. "Where's my cloak, chambermaid?" "I'd find it if I could, ma'am, if I could move." "Chambermaid, my basket." "Chambermaid, my parasol." "Chambermaid, my carpet bag." "Mama, they push me so." "Hush, child. Crawl under there and lie still till I can undress you." At last, however, the various distresses are over. The babies sink to sleep, and even that much-enduring being, the chambermaid, seeks out some corner for repose. Tired and drowsy, you are just slipping into a doze when, bang, goes the boat against the sides of a lock. Ropes scrape, men run and shout, and up fly the heads of all the top shelfites, who are generally the more juvenile and airy part of the company. "What's that? What's that?" flies from mouth, and forthwith they proceed to awaken their respective relations. "Mother! Aunt Hannah, do wake up! What is that awful noise?" "Oh, only a lock. Pray be still, groan out the sleepy members from below. A lock! Exclaim the vivacious creatures, ever on the alert for information. And what is a lock, pray? Don't you know what a lock is, you silly creatures? Now, do lie down and go to sleep. But say, there ain't any danger in a lock, is there? Respond the querists. Danger? Exclaims a deaf old lady, poking up her head. What's the matter? There ain't nothing burst here, has there? No, 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 exclaimed the provoked and despairing opposition party, who find that there is no such thing as going to sleep till they have made the old lady below and the young ladies above understand exactly the philosophy of a lock. After a while, the conversation again subsides. Again, all is still. You hear only the trampling of horses and the rippling of the rope in the water, and sleep again is stealing over you. You doze, you dream, and all of a sudden you are startled by a cry. Chambermaid, wake up the lady who wants to be set ashore. Up jumps the chambermaid, and up jump the lady and two children, and forthwith form a committee of inquiry as to ways and means. Where's my bonnet? Says the lady, half awake, fumbling among various articles of that name. Oh, I thought I hung it up behind the door. Can't you find it? Says poor chambermaid, yawning and rubbing her eyes. Oh, yes, here it is, says the lady. And then the cloak, the shawl, the gloves, the shoes, each receive a separate discussion. At last, all seems ready, and they begin to move off when, lo, Peter's cap is missing. Oh, now where can it be? Soliloquizes the lady. I put it right here by the table leg. Maybe it got into some of the berths. At that suggestion, the chambermaid takes the candle and goes round deliberately to every berth, poking the light directly in the face of every sleeper. Here it is, she exclaims, pulling at something black under one pillow. No, indeed, those are my shoes, says the vexed sleeper. Oh, maybe it's here, she resumes, darting upon something dark in another berth. No, that's my bag, responds the occupant. The chambermaid then proceeds to turn over all the children on the floor to see if it is not under them, in the course of which process they are most agreeably waked up and enlivened, and when everybody is broad awake and most uncharitable, wishing the cap, and Peter too, at the bottom of the canal, the good lady exclaims, well, if this isn't lucky, here, I had it safe in my basket all the time. And she departs amid, what shall I say, execrations of the whole company, ladies though they be. At last, however, voice after voice drops off. You fall into a most refreshing slumber. It seems to you that you sleep about a quarter of an hour when the chambermaid pulls you by the sleeve. Will you please get up, ma'am? We want to make the beds. You start and stare. Sure enough, the night is gone. So much for sleeping aboard canal boats. Let us not enumerate the manifold perplexities of the morning toilet in a place where every lady realizes most forcibly the condition of the old woman who lived under the broom. All she wanted was elbow room. Let us not forget how one glass is made to answer for 30 fair faces, one ewer and vase for 30 libations, and tell it not in Gath, one towel for a company. Let us not intimate how ladies' shoes have in a night clandestinely slid over to the gentleman's cabin, and gentlemen's boots elbowed, or rather toed, their way among ladies' gear. Nor recite the exclamations after runaway property that are heard. I can't find nothing as Johnny's shoe. Here's the shoe in the water pitcher. Is this it? My side combs are gone, exclaims a nymph with disheveled curls. Oh, Massy, do look at my bonnet, exclaims an old lady, elevating an article crushed into as many angles as there are pieces in a mince pie. I never did sleep so much together in my life, echoes a poor little French lady whom despair has driven to talking English. But our shortening paper warns us not to prolong our catalogue of distresses beyond reasonable bounds, and therefore we will close with advising our friends who intend to try this way of traveling for pleasure to take a good stock both of patience and clean towels with them, for we think they will find abundant need for both.